Welcome to the Liberty Lounge. My name is Jimmy Charles. I'm the founder of Liberty Network, and we're here with Matt Green with Ledger Medial Accounting Services. How are you doing today, Matt?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Well, glad to have you on. So, Matt, tell us a little bit about what state are you from? Where were you born, and kind of what was it like growing up for you?
Well, I was born in Charleston, but my parents are from Greenville, South Carolina. They lived there for like 3 years, and they moved back when I was like 2 months old. So I've pretty much from here. Went to Hampton High School. Growing up for me, I would say pain and torment, just at times. No, not really. I pretty normal. We were pretty poor growing up. I guess played sports, baseball mostly. Um, was always into music. My dad played piano. There are pictures of me when I was like 5. He'd play this one song, and I'd jump off with this toy guitar. I think I might have smashed it one time.
Nice.
Uh, I think I saw that somewhere. But my parents were like all really big into music. I think my
Yeah.
my dad saw the Rolling Stones 6 times.
Wow.
He saw Jimi Hendrix set his guitar on fire and all that. So I was kind of brought up to believe that rock stars were like royalty, I guess, which is weird. I guess it's
Yeah.
probably not healthy, but I did well in school until, just naturally without trying until I got to like high school and I just kind of started playing music, became a wild man. And you want me to tell you the whole life story, like step by step from birth?
You tell us as much or as little as you want.
Well, anyway, coming out of high school, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. Wanted to play music. I started out, me and a guy were going to start this band. I played guitar. We never could find a drummer. My brother had bought a drum set, and I could play like two beats, kind of. And I told the guy that I was starting a band, I was like, we never could find a drummer. We had two, they didn't work out. They're all just like, they're either not that good or don't have actual drums or they're already in a band. If they're actually a good drummer with drums, they're generally in a band and they're hard to find. I was like, I'll just learn to play drums. And I just threw it out there. He's like, okay. So I did it. I went back, took
Wow.
2 years of drum lessons, and that would have been like the winter of '95. I was 18 years old. And by the time I was 20, we were playing gigs. We actually opened for a band the same year they were nominated for a Grammy. We played like a side stage, Freedom Week in the Loft with Hootie and the Blowfish, play Fall for Greenwood, stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I guess. But anyway, we I would say we had success in many ways other than monetarily. But then I went back to school for audio engineering in 2003. I moved to Nashville and met my wife there, and she had two small sons. Now they're in their mid 20s, but then we had a daughter. So I moved to Nashville in 2003, went to audio engineering school, came back here in 2009. So I moved there with 0 kids, came back with 3. So I figured
Yeah.
I better do something. So I released my own album in 2008. It's kind of my last hurrah. And, the economy was really bad. And I figured music was the most unstructured career path. So I figured accounting was the most structured career path. So 2012, I started taking classes and then I just got my bachelor's MBA, worked for a CPA firm for about 4 or 5 years and started my company in
So,
August
so
of 2020.
what did you play an instrument before you learned the drums?
I played guitar, but I wasn't great or anything. I was kind of a hack, but I was okay. When I think, I know some people that can like really, really play. So when I think of
Yeah.
like, I could play songs, I could learn, whatever I needed to learn to get by. But yeah, no, yes, guitar pretty
So
much
what
was my instrument.
so what was the name of your band?
We were Wormwood.
Wormwood. Okay. And you were kind of like a
Yeah.
90s grunge style?
But yeah, not kind of, pretty much exactly. There's some stuff back here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we were like mostly originals, but I would say we like Alice in Chains, Tool, Nirvana type stuff. But
Yeah.
we play like 15 songs, maybe 4 or 5 would be covers, but we were mostly originals. Um,
That's cool.
yeah, so that's what I did.
Yeah.
And I was managed to not gather any kind of extensive criminal record or
Yeah.
anything like that.
That's
So,
good. That's a good thing. Well, that's awesome that you pursued that and gave it a shot, man. And I mean, you went as far as to actually, get physical albums pressed and mixed and mastered and actually CDs pressed. So that's awesome. So more than a lot of people can say. And
yeah, thanks.
yeah, and then were there any other shows that stuck out to you from that time outside of Hootie and the Blowfish?
I remember we played at a Halloween, uh, like a Halloween party at Greenwood, Lander University in Greenwood,
Uh huh.
and that was a good one.
Oh wow.
It was like pitch black dark, and it was like a whole bunch of people there, and we had our own light system. I just remember I got to run lights for some other bands, and I always liked to do that. So that was probably one of my favorite shows.
Was that an outdoor show?
Yeah, it was in a big field.
Oh wow, nice. So transitioning from that to accounting, how like where does accounting even become an idea to say that's what I want to go back to school with that later in life?
Um, Actually, my lab partner in Nashville, who I'm still very good friends with, he had been an accountant for a while, and he did the opposite. He was doing, he was producing stuff and doing other things, and I just always thought, that's pretty impressive. He'd say he was an accountant. It seems like you'd have to be pretty smart to do that. So I was kind of sloshing around in my head all
Yeah,
the time. But really, I worked at CNS Wholesale, which is basically they stocked buy lows, and I worked in inventory control. But because of that, I had to get a stand-up forklift license. But anyway, the forklift job was like more of a production job, and what I was doing was kind of like an office type, not office type, more like I guess not working your anus off type job, but it paid way more. So I was qualified to get the forklift job. I kept putting in for the forklift job, and I couldn't get it. And I worked third shift. Me and my wife were on the back porch, and we're like, what are we going to do? Because I mean, it was just hard for a long time financially. I was like, I'm just going to go back to school and be an accountant. And I just said it. And then that was like May 2012. And then I started taking classes in August, and it was painful. I mean, I had a
yeah,
full time job the whole time. Really, I just had to do something, and I didn't want to. Actually, at one point, was going to start a kid song business, um, but I had enough kids, and I was about done with all that. And
sure.
but I was in the process of doing it, and I was like, I just don't. I couldn't see it scaling, and I was like, I'll just do this, and that's what I did, and I just did it. It was
Yeah.
hard. I did class. I would wake up sometimes 2 or 3 hours before I go to work, and do my schoolwork, work on weekends. It was not easy. I'm just going to tell you.
No, imagine not a full time job, going to school full time, and a family. Yeah, that's I
Yep,
mean, you were determined though. You know what that's what you wanted to do, right?
yep. And now I make almost $75 every week,
Well, moving on up in life.
and that's not
So
even counting what I steal from the government in one way or another.
wow.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So so what was it like? So okay, you graduate school, you're still working a job. Walk us through what that's like. Setting it up to leave that job and put in your notice, and however all that happens to actually launch your own business.
Well, actually, I was terminated from my job because we just
Okay,
butted heads on a lot of things.
even better story.
Yep. Well, anyway, probably short versions. I'd probably send a couple of emails to the owners telling them maybe what I thought about everything, a time or two too many. But it was just time for me to go. I had a second interview with another firm that morning. I think they found out about it. It was just we couldn't get on the same page. I started my company the next day, but
Yeah,
the truth be told, that was August 12th, 2020. August 13th, 2020, I started my business, filed the articles, but I had already purchased the website. I had already written, like a mission statement and all that stuff. I mean, I was already in the process of leaving. I did honor my non compete. I had a 2 year non compete. So out of the gate, I could have been, making 2 or 3 thousand a month rather than $0 a month. So I'm
Sure.
proud that I did do that. But really, it it seems weird, but the way I built the company was extremely virtual. I just know that like most accounting firms, they're engulfed in like a historic like evolution of where they were. And it's I'm trying to make some sense here, but like I know that most the software that most accounting firms use, their plan allows them to file state returns in Georgia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. Anything outside of that, they got to pay like per price to file a return. They got a brick and mortar. So they're always thinking in like a geographic mentality, I guess. So because I was able during COVID, I basically just zoomed into networking groups. I made a list of all the networking groups that did not have an accountant, and that's just what I did. And I would have one-to-ones. That's how I met you. I was like, hey, you want to have a one-to-one? Thanks for letting me visit your group. Blah blah blah. Then tax season came the next year, and people started sending me people, and it just grew from there. But we have a gas station in Washington State. We have a bar in the Virgin Islands. Actually, there is a company in Los Angeles that funds startup tech companies in Los Angeles. Actually, pays me to do those taxes. True story. So
That's
I
awesome.
set it up very virtually, and it was it was gradual, and then
So
the ebbs and flows.
as
Sometimes it
you
grows.
as you explain this to me, what I'm hearing is that you are trying to think differently than 90% of the accountants out there who are used to doing a certain thing a certain way. And so you didn't have the overhead of a brick and mortar, and you come in and you leverage technology. It's there. Why not use it, right? To your
Right.
advantage. And you can work anywhere in the United States. And you said even the Virgin Islands, and all those come from referrals from networking, correct?
We're probably 90%
Most of
referral.
them. Okay.
I mean, my son has a digital marketing company, and his sister-in-law has like a social media marketing company. So
Okay.
those are really my only clients in the
Yeah.
beginning. So we have a pretty good, what I consider to be an online presence, which we're actually working on ramping up. But we do get the random people from Google or wherever else. But yeah, we're about 90% referrals.
Yeah, that's good. And I know you got a big presence on LinkedIn and you leverage that really well. What are some tips for somebody that's wanting to, maybe they've been on LinkedIn for a while, but they're wanting to leverage that more? What would you tell somebody?
Um, I would say start with your profile. You got to have a really good picture. Um, I paid good money for my headshot, and I've hired who I think is the best person. I think you got to have something that stands out. A lot of people will say make your title not your title, but how you help people,
Mm,
or you want to explain to them what you do. But it's all about personal branding. I put a lot of thought into the description. I think if someone wanted to take the time to learn who I was rather than listen to me say a bunch of crazy stuff on this podcast, you could go through there and see pretty much what I've been doing for the past 20 years. And a
yeah,
lot of it's metrics. I would say make sure you have metrics in there, and don't connect to people and then send them a sales blast. I would say get to know people. What I do is I may ask them to come to a networking group or something like that, rather than just say, thanks for connecting. We file taxes. Here's how much we charge. Do you need help or something like that? There's
yeah.
an art to it.
It's
I
more
mean,
relatable. It's more personable to do it that way.
yeah, you just got to get to know people. LinkedIn is really just networking of some sorts, just
Yeah,
kind of digital networking.
100%. So when you launched your business, what was one of the toughest obstacles you had to overcome? And like in
In
the
the
beginning,
beginning, it was
first
getting
like 6 months
clients,
or something. Yeah, getting clients.
and then really when I think about like cash, I would say learning to you can't get over an emotional attachment to cash, but being aware of it because there were literally times within the first 6 months I would make in like 2 or 3 days period of time more than I'd make in like 2 or 3 months in my job. And then all of a sudden you wouldn't make money like that because
Mm,
it's obviously it's a seasonal business.
sure.
So you can't be, you got to think like in numbers. You got to always think dollars and cents. And you also got to think long term. You can't ever get too high because I mean, I really like. I just made several thousands of dollars in a couple days. You know, my check where I was maybe a quarter of that in
Yeah.
every 2 weeks, and then but then it's like it doesn't come in the same. So you just got to like not get too high and too low. I think was something I learned pretty fast.
So, so in your experience, you've been in business now for over 4 years, and so you got a young entrepreneur out there, and they're launching their business. What's the one or two tips that you would tell them that you've learned over the last couple of years that would benefit them when they launch their business?
Even I would say networking is the best way to get clients, but you never is never sales. You're not going to networking to sales. If you're don't be those people that show up at the Liberty Social asking somebody to send you a group text to somebody.
Amen.
You know, yeah, that's just not a good look. You just want to get to know people. I never try to sell. I never try to sell them anything. But then
Yeah.
you also got to have your online presence to back that up.
Yeah.
And there's ways to do that. I mean, LinkedIn's free, you know, to set up your profile. And there's outsourcing, there's bartering. You're going to have to make people are going to look you up. If
Mm-hmm.
some, like you could go say, hey, call Matt about accounting. They're going to go and they're going to look me up and they're going to want to know that I'm a legitimate person. They don't want to go and see 8 Google reviews and 7 of them are saying I ruined their life or
Yeah.
something. You know, you gotta do that. You have to. There's ways to outsource that and bartering. Just like I say, my only client was my son with he did marketing, I did his accounting. That was it, and grew from there. But just be genuine and be yourself. I mean, I feel like I may be a little too guilty of that at times. So
No, I agree. I mean, you really nailed it. When, especially somebody new to networking, but if somebody asks for advice, I say the first two things I tell people is be authentic and don't sell at a networking event. I mean, so you really nailed it there. That's awesome. Um,
yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah, just and be patient.
yeah,
People aren't just going to meet you. They don't owe you referrals. And give referrals. If you can't give a referral, you can always give something. You can give a connection, or you can buy lunch or coffee. One time, when I first got going, I remember I had lunch with someone, and I bought the lunch, and it was literally more than half the money I had in my business bank account. And the whole time I'm sitting there freaking out, but I didn't portray that. You know, I like it also gives like an image of success.
for
Like
sure.
I got it. You know, you're nice. It feels like they owe you something, and then it's also kind of a not arrogant way to make it seem like you're successful. You're just buying lunch. No
Yeah,
big deal. 15, $20
but it
was a
is a
lot of
big
money to
deal when you
me.
don't have the money. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. No, I've
And that
been
wound up being a lot of work. Like there was like a year later when I needed that work at that time. It was during the slower time, and I wound up doing a lot of work for that person.
good.
Um, that was like a year later. I did no work, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, we got this going on. Can you do this?" And I was like, "Yep." And made a pretty
Yeah,
good bit of money off
build authentic relationships and be patient. Yeah, and
it. Yeah.
you give enough, eventually it's going to come back to you. I like that. And like you said, your online presence. People love it, hate it, or whatever. It's just the reality of our this generation and how technology is. And so have professional things on your social media and keep it updated, right? You don't, if you got a bunch of broken links, and that is how people legitimize your business, and they go there and it's half of it's not working, or you still got MySpace on there, they're not going to take you seriously.
You don't use MySpace?
I mean, I have an account, but I'm not normal.
Yeah. Yeah,
uh,
you're right.
yeah,
You either got to be working hard to get the clients or getting the work done. If you don't have
yeah,
clients, you got to work hard to get them.
that's right. So yeah, you reciprocate. And another thing you said was, if you can't give a referral, give a connection. And I wholeheartedly agree with that, because a referral can feed you for the day, but a connection, it could feed you for a lifetime. Of course, you never know what that connection is going to lead to, but you make the connection, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it don't. But the ones that do can be very beneficial to that person. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Matt, tell us one thing about you that maybe nobody watching this would know.
Uh, I can pogo stick with no hands.
How in the world can you do that?
I hold it in my legs. I can't do it as long as I used to could. But I did try to jump rope on a pogo stick once, and that did not turn out too good.
Did
I'll
you
just
have
go ahead and
to?
tell
Did you have to go to the hospital?
you. No, but I was in the garage floor for a while before I decided I could get up.
I must say I have never seen anyone pogo stick without using their hands. That is a special talent.
Yeah, I think I invented it back in the 80s.
I'm sure you did. Um, so I know you've been in Liberty Networking for quite a while now. Well over what is it, 2 years or something like that? I can't
Probably
remember.
like 3.5 years.
It's been a long time. You've been around for a while. So what? Uh, how has it been for you just being a member of Liberty Networking?
It's been great. I like, the format's a little bit different than others.
Yeah.
I've made some of the people that I've been in the same group with for 3.5 years, and
Oh wow.
I like the way you can just visit other groups. It's worked out great. I found my business coach there, um,
Yeah.
but just like anything else, you gotta give to get. You can't just you gotta have your one-to-ones. People, you don't just show up to a networking group and say, "Here I am, send me referrals." You got to get to know people, and
That's true. Yeah. Your
yeah,
RBMs, relationship building meetings, are very important for that. And that's one thing that when we set up Liberty Networking, is to say you can visit any chapter unlimited, because we really do have an abundance mentality. We want you to be able to make as many connections as you can and give referrals to way more than just your chapter. I mean, obviously you have your home chapter, but it's a much bigger network than that, right? So
yeah, and the structure of having the other, always have the social and the learning. I can't think of the name of it.
networking
Yeah,
blueprint.
yeah, you have like that every the same time every month more or less. And the consistency there, I think, is really huge.
Yeah, those are two events. So the networking blueprint, and we've been doing that for about a year now, I believe, and that was just came out of necessity of people asking about training and stuff. And so we have a, I know you spoke there. We have a different speaker every month on a different topic, but it's also a networking opportunity, because a lot of people come to those that aren't even never been to a Liberty Networking meeting, and we've been averaging 20 or so people at those. So that's really good. And then the socials that you mentioned, that's I call that networking for a cause, and that just kind of evolved over time from just a meetup to now we have this huge 60 to 100 people meeting, social events where we raise a lot of money for a different nonprofit every month. And so that's a lot of fun and make a lot of great connections too.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Um, so what's a, I know you kind of mentioned it earlier. So do you have any other, networking tips for somebody that is looking to join Liberty Networking, and what would you tell, somebody that's trying to make a decision if they wanted to join or not?
I would say definitely do it. It's very cost effective, but like I say, you get out of what you put in. Um, I would go to all the socials. I would make sure you visit the groups. You can go online and easily see who has that seat that you're doing. I mean, none of the chapters may have what you're doing, so you can visit there and then get to know people on a one-to-one basis. It's really that simple. I mean, I'll be honest. Doing taxes, I have shown up at the right place at the right time, and they've got to file their taxes. They don't have somebody, so
Yeah.
I've walked out of with 2 or 3 tax returns to do, and just randomly.
Yeah.
But that's not really how it works most of the time.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're at the right place at the right time, sure. I've seen that happen with other industries and stuff. Um, so, in your industry, most accountants, I mean, let's just be real. Most of them, are very introverted. They just want to sit in their office and not do anything. So how has it benefited you? And if somebody else in your industry was, looking to start networking, how has it been more beneficial for you versus just, running ads online, or however accountants traditionally get leads, I guess?
Definitely, most of them come from networking. Uh, I don't know. I'm actually very introverted. People say that I'm not, but I do it as like a job. And like normally, if I go out in public, I do not talk to people.
Right.
But I guess it's my job. I mean, I don't care who you are. If or what your business is. Basically, what you are is a salesman. I don't care if you're building decks or an accountant or whatever you're trying to do.
You're
You're
selling
going to start
yourself.
out as a salesman.
Yeah. People buy who you are, not necessarily your company, right? Your company's a
Exactly.
reflection of who you are.
Yeah, and a lot of people, I think. I mean, obviously, I'm not a typical accountant. Like I was not an accountant for the first nearly 40 years of my life. I mean, I was something totally different. So to me, I'm not going to be able to. I guess if you're in grade, coming out of college, high school, you're going to college, really by the time you're about 19 or 20 years old, you're kind of already an accountant. Like you're thinking, I'm going to be an accountant. Then you are one at 22, 23-year-old kid. So, and you're just stuck at a desk and you just want this one way. I was not that way. I mean, when I was 23, I was trashing the stage and, trying to get gigs and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I learned a lot of stuff the hard way. And I just, and plus I had a family. So, I mean, there's more of an incentive. I mean, I got kids to feed, If I
Sure.
don't bring in money, then we're out lined at the soup kitchen or something. And then, so you got to be hungry, you got to think that, you got to think big, you got to go after it, but you can't be seen desperate or anything, even if you are. I don't remember what the question was, but
I
that's what
just
I'd say about that.
how has it been beneficial for? How would it be beneficial for an accountant? Basically, you're talking about being an introvert. I think probably 60 or more percent of people in a networking group are introverts, and I've just learned that over the last 3 to 4 years. And it's like you said, it's your business, and if you want to build relationships, you have to speak up. That's just part of owning a business.
Yeah, and a couple things about that. When I first got my first accounting job, I had to substitute in a networking group, and I like literally freaked out big time.
Did you
The one I
freeze?
went to,
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't think anything about it. But where I went, it went by where you were sitting, and there was about 30 something people in that group, and they passed around a microphone. And by chance, where I was sitting, I was like one of the last three or four people.
Uh huh.
And when that microphone got closer to me, I was like, "What's?" I was like, "Do I just go hide in the bathroom and then come out when everybody's gone and send an email apologize?" But I got up and I was like, I was shaking.
Oh
but
wow.
I used to have a job cleaning carpets. This is a weird thing. I've had like because I tried to make it in music. I always had a job. I had jobs since I was 14.
Yeah.
I've learned a lot of weird things, and one of them I cleaned carpets, and I was really a salesman in disguise. And they had this sign on the wall that said, "In order to achieve greatness, you must come out of your comfort zone." And
Wow.
and whenever I knew I started my company, that's what came to mind was just you're gonna have to speak in front of people, do it all the time, get used to it, accept it, move on. And and even if you're introverted, I think you can just go in there. You're gonna have to say your stuff in front of some people. Maybe it's five, maybe it's 25 people, but then just get to know people on a personal level. Like ask them to go have a one-to-one or lunch or come to your office or whatever, and or try to do something for them, and
So
then just get to know them that way.
what tip would you have for an introvert that's going to a networking social with 60 people at it?
Um, Probably just get really liquored up, and no,
Some people do. Some people do.
I'm just kidding. Don't do that. Just start talking to people. The thing you got to remember is most people there are nervous too,
Yeah.
and just talk to people and don't say anything about being nervous. Because I remember I used to do that when I'd had to visit that group a few times, and I would always be so nervous about it after that first time, and I'd say, I'm kind of nervous. Don't ever say that. If
Yeah.
you don't say that out loud,
They ain't gonna
it
know.
that just
Yeah.
that you kind of forget about it.
Sure.
Because then you got people that know it. Because everybody's nervous.
That's a good point.
Crack
Yeah.
a joke,
And I
say
and I
something off the wall.
and I like to tell people, if there's a 60, 80, 100 people you're not there to meet them all. You know, go there and make you a goal, 3 or 5, whatever it is. Get contacts and get their cards. You trade, but you got to follow up with them, right? If you don't follow up, then you all you did was get a piece of cardboard. so,
Yeah.
uh, so yeah, that's good. So, do you do any accounting for any musicians?
I actually have a rap record label that's a monthly client of ours.
Oh, nice. So you're still
And
in
I
the
actually
studio.
have their do what?
You're kind of in the music biz still.
Sort of. Yeah, they let me drop 16 bars on their upcoming single.
Oh, I definitely want to hear that.
I'm called the Tax Man. I'm just kidding. I just made all that
So
up, but I
good.
really do have a rap record label as a client.
Nice.
But I've spit no bars on any of their albums,
Yeah.
and I don't think they're going to let me either.
Yeah. Well, you never know till you ask.
I've asked,
Oh, awesome.
so I know, but
Well,
who
that's
knows?
awesome, man. Is there anything, any tips or tricks or wisdom or anything that we haven't covered that you would like to tell everyone?
I
Parting
would say
words.
just always just come from where you are. You know, if things are hard, just keep going. You might have
Yeah.
to drive Uber. You might have to deliver some pizzas. You might have to clean some gutters or pressure wash a house or 20. But you just got to keep moving forward, and things can turn
Yeah.
around pretty quickly.
I
I
mean,
guess I was.
yeah. I mean, we're not necessarily we're not better than anybody else, but one thing that why we're at is because we hadn't quit. There's other people who've started to do what we're doing with our companies and all, but they quit or it got too hard. But that's the thing, be consistent and don't quit, right? Think life's gonna get hard. That's a given.
Yeah. And you got to think dollars and cents. Like it sounds stupid, but you really just got to think you got trying to get the most money in with the least amount of money going out. And
Yeah.
I cannot tell you because I stare at it all day, every day, how many people only get like half of that right. It's really weird.
So what do they need to do to get that right?
Well, you need to think in advance. Is it really profitable and scalable as a business? Is there a market for it? And then, do you have a budget? Do you have money? I mean, I didn't have. I mean, I bought a laptop and some tax software, and that's how I started my business. And I got a co-working space as soon as I could afford it, and insurance right as soon as I could afford it. And I just kind of grew from there. I didn't need like $20,000 to get started, but you're gonna have to think realistically. People, it's not as always as simple as like I take pressure washing because I've done some of that and I have family members. It's like it's easy to say that I can go walk around for 5 hours on a Saturday. I'm going to get $4,000 in work. It's going to cost me $500 to do that, but it doesn't always work out like that. Stuff
Yeah.
breaks, it rains, and the people might cancel. So you just got to think about what all the real costs, like insurance. Insurance is the big. Your industry may cost a lot of insurance. You just got to really think about all the potential costs involved before you hit go.
Yeah, that's good. Well, Matt, that's been awesome, man. So how can people get in touch with you and your company if they need your services?
Um, ledgermedial.com, at ledgermedial anywhere, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Pretty, just Google us. You'll find it. Ledger Medial Accounting Services.
That's awesome. And you can operate anywhere in the United States. Yeah.
Yeah, yep. Taxes, bookkeeping. We have clients all over. We get a little bit better all the time about facilitating the onboarding of all that stuff.
Sure.
So,
Well, that's so good, man. Well, I appreciate your time, man. I hope you have a great day.
thank you.